Good evening, everyone. I am Mayor Donald T. Lopez, and I want to welcome everybody to the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque Board of Trustees regular meeting. The time is 7 p.m. This meeting is streamed on the village website. The public can also participate via Zoom. Instructions and overall public participation guidance for commenting is listed on the website and on page 6 of the meeting packet. At this time, I am going to call the roll. Mayor Pro Tem, Trustee Pacheco.
Present.
Trustee Benavides.
Present.
Trustee Lewis.
Present.
Trustee Radnovich is excused. At this time, I am going to have a proclamation read by myself, followed by a moment of silence. The Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque proclamation honoring the passing of Municipal Judge Diane Albert. The untimely passing occurred on November the 25th, 2022. Whereas Diane Albert was elected municipal judge of the Village of Los Ranchos on November 2nd, 2021, and whereas she began her first term on January 1st, 2022, and whereas she served on the Los Ranchos Planning and Zoning Commission from 2010 to 2014, and again from February 2021 to August 2021. Was a Los Alamos County Councilor from 2001 to 2004, served on the Los Alamos Planning and Zoning Commission from 1999 to 2001, and served on numerous other boards, committees, and commissions throughout her career. Diane received her Bachelor of Science in Metallurgical Engineering from Ohio State University, her Master's and PhD in Material Science and Engineering from Carnegie Mellon University, and her Juris Doctorate from the University of New Mexico School of Law. And whereas she was a passionate advocate for the Village of Los Ranchos and dedicated much of her energy toward the betterment of the quality of life in the village. Whereas, without warning, Judge Diane Albert passed away on November 25th, 2022. Now therefore, I, Donald T. Lopez, Mayor, and the Board of Trustees of the Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim that on this day, the Board of Trustees, staff, and the residents of the Village of Los Ranchos do pause to honor the life and passing of Diane Albert, dated this 14th day of December, 2022, signed by Mayor Donald T. Lopez, Village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque. Let's please have a moment of silence. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Item number 5 at this time is the approval of the agenda. I need a motion to approve or amend the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I need a second.
I'll second that.
I'm going to call for the question. Call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. At this time, we will move to the public comment period. Participants wishing to speak on topics that do not appear on the agenda will be given 3 minutes. No action can occur on these items. Danielle, please proceed by calling up individuals that signed up for general public comment.
Thank you, Mayor. Camille Vados. Please come to the podium. You have 3 minutes. Maria.
Sure. But my hand is injured, so thank you. Camille Vados, 427 El Paraíso Road, Los Ranchos, New Mexico. Good evening, Mayor, trustees, and other village staff and fellow residents. I never write anything. I'm going to speak my piece and truth. I think I've spoken enough times. But as a resident for years, because I grew up in Los Ranchos and cared for my aging parents, and they passed now. But anyway, I've never seen the village so beautiful in terms of nature. You know, as I go down Chavez, and I go that route quite often, looking at our mountains, looking at before the leaves changed and fell in the fall, I guess, or autumn. But this is our natural setting. And watching our sandhill cranes and our wildlife coyotes sitting on a freshly baled hay, this is my legacy as a child and into my adult life. And I know and I understand, change will occur, and it has occurred vastly, and it will change even more. And not that I wouldn't expect that. Of course, I'm a optimist, but I'm also a realist. But I liked when U.S. Senator Warnock was elected through the runoff in Georgia. He said, the people have spoken, and I think we all have spoken. And I've never, in all the years of attending, whether they're planning and zoning meetings or board of trustees, it's always been the voices of the people speaking and being heard. I don't think we may be speaking loud and clear, but I don't think that we're being heard. You know, we're only speaking to what our village represents, agricultural setting, neighborhoods. And I was at a political gathering, festive event last night, and I don't know, it's hard not to talk politics, even though it's a festive event. And I was speaking with a
Mrs. Vados, if you could finish your thought, your time has expired.
Well, I just want to say that water, and he said his new position is about water. And I thought, wow, okay, but there, and I say there because he works for the county.
Ms. Vados, your time has expired.
I know, but I want to finish this thought because if it's about water, but yet in support of these density living, how is that not about water and traffic and impact? And I guess I have to stop at that thought.
Thank you, Ms. Vados. I have Mr. Randy McKee. Please approach the podium. You have 3 minutes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Randy McKee, 749 Chavez Road Northwest. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, trustees. It's been a rough year. We started out with an organized push against the winery. We did not get what we wanted. We did meet a lot of new friends, make a lot of new friends in that effort, but we have a winery coming at us with a lot of events. We did not want that, but we have it. Then we were confronted in early or late spring with a significant amount of development that was coming our way, all concentrated down in the southeast part of the village. And it did something tremendous for our family. I now walk through the village and I don't know 3, 4, 5 people. I now know hundreds. And I know their names. They're in my phone as contacts. And this village is growing a groundswell of people that are making friends. I look out through the audience the last 2 or 3 times. I know their names, I know who they are, and they become very close friends. Very, very different from me, very, very different from my wife in many cases. But things have brought us together, and that thing that brought us together is that logo right there. It's agriculture, it's green, it's rural, and it's housing that is not dense. I encourage you all to continue to listen to us. We don't believe we've been heard, but I encourage you to continue to listen to us and take what we're saying at heart. We're building a pretty good momentum with a lot of people that are locking arms and forming relationships that are going to make a difference in this village. And we believe we're going to make a difference in this village. It may not be now, it may not be 6 months, but over the next couple of years, we are going to be doing that. We're going to be asking for a relook at the 2035 development plan, master plan. We're going to ask for a lot of things that we weren't able to ask for before because we weren't connected. This is a real nice time of the year for us to peacefully enjoy the season. I encourage you all to do that, but know that come next month, we're going to be right back here asking for your support and your help in trying to take this village back to something that it's been and should be. And it's the thing that we've invested our entire lives and our savings into to be here for a reason. We're not here because we want to live in Tanawan. We're here because this is Los Ranchos. It took me a long time to find the property we found, many years. And we're just watching it just ebb away. So I encourage you to think about what we're doing, how we're connecting, and the friendships we're making, and know and understand that there's a lot of power in that. Wish you Merry Christmas. Wish you all the best. And look forward to a new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKee. Linda McKee, please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record. Thank you, ma'am. JT Michelson, if you would please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
JT Michelson, 5001 Rio Grande Boulevard Northwest, village resident for 55 years. I have 3 thoughts I want to share with the trustees, mayor, and village staff. The first one is to thank you all, mayor, trustees, and village staff, for your service in 2022. This has been a very trying year. You've had a lot of opinions from a lot of people, some rougher than others. You've listened to all of them, and yet you've performed your service for the village. Thank you. My second thought is to thank you for passing the pilot project, Guadalupe and Chavez, at your last meeting. The pilot project was designed to ensure open space and maintaining the look of the village. With 1/3 open space, the look of the village, that is a very good pilot project. The 2035 master plan asks the village to look at 4 different ones so we can look at different parts of the village and see how we can do things slightly different and yet maintain open space and the look of the village. My third thought is the city of Albuquerque is having a housing crisis. They're thinking about taking abandoned businesses and converting them to living spaces. Our village center will be finished in just about the right amount of time to welcome more people to the village and to fill it up very quickly. Finally, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. Thank you again for your service to the village and our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, JT. Mayor and trustees, those are all the individuals that pre-registered and signed up.
keep forgetting. Okay, we're now going to move to item 7, which is presentations. We have Mr. Robert Chavez of the Citizens Advisory Committee, parentheses CAC, with a committee update. Mr. Chavez, please come to the podium. You have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Mayor, trustees, I appreciate the opportunity of being able to speak to you, giving you an update on a very important committee, especially with the tasks assigned to it. Tonight, I want to cover the 4 W's of the committee, the why, who is involved, the participants, what the committee is tasked to do, and when those tasks are to be completed. Can we go to the next slide, please? The why is a result of, I think, 2 major factors. One is the September 8th meeting, which was the hosted meeting by the village staff in getting all of the residents that wanted to participate in the items that are concerned to the residents. And a result of that meeting, there was 3 major issues that came out of the meeting the residents came out with. And it was a reduced density of the VC and C1 zones, revise or repeal the conservation pilot conservation ordinance, and then improve communications. And I've got to say, as a bullet point, the item said, consider scheduling additional meetings and/or establishing groups to review zoning and develop proposals. The second item that caused the CAC, I believe, is the KLR group, which petitioned the trustees and the mayor with 650 signatures, basically saying the same things that the resident meeting came out with, right? Try to address the VC and the C1 zoning, as well as ask for a moratorium. Well, the important thing that came out of it, and I've got to say thank you, the mayor and the staff initiated the formation with the support of the trustees of this committee. And we want to thank you for that, because this committee, I think, is going to come out with some very important items for the long term and try to help adjust and calm the heat that we've been experiencing over the last 6 months. Can we go to the next one, please? So, lo and behold, the members. Robert Chavez got chosen as the chair. That was the very short straw. And we have Drew Seavey, the chair of the Planning and Zoning. We have Hank Kelly, which is a member of KLR. He is a retired attorney, and as he would put it in his own terms, a recovering lawyer rather than a retired one. We have Sarah Cobb from the Ag Committee. We have Shailene Smith from the P&Z. We have Ray Savetic, who's a member of KLR. He's a former IBM system engineer, and for the last, I think, 15 to 20 years, he owned a owner of a business that had architectural and construction product dealership. We have Maida Rubin, the Planning and Zoning Director, and Simon, Village Administrator, and Mr. Gilbert Benavidez, and that's with an S, trustee. So I think you can see that the committee members are well diverse, and we have some very knowledgeable individuals as it relates to the task at hand. So appreciate all of the members. I want to give them a big shout out and a big thank you for the time that they've committed, as well as their commitment to the task that we have at hand, and trying to get the timetables met that are expected. And we'll cover that as we go through. Next slide, please. So the committee's priorities, no small tasks, but manageable, we believe. The first and most important is the review and suggest changes to the C1 commercial zone, which is Village Code 9.2.12. Second priority and task is the VC Village Center Zone 9.2.14, and that is additionally reviewing and suggesting changes. The last, and probably going to be the most intense of the tasks, is the Conservation Development Pilot Project Review, Ordinance 284. As you well know for sure that how difficult that's going to be. Next slide, please. The current committee is focusing on C1, and we had Maida develop a slide or some data that we wanted to determine what the densities of the C1 zone is. What is it comprised of? And lo and behold, what we found out, there's 33 properties that are 1 acre or greater, which would be susceptible to the highest densities, right? And potential development, even though a lot of those properties are developed or slightly developed or maybe undeveloped. The majority are, I think, in a developed state. But if you looked at the total count, the C1 zone, it is over 190 properties that are in that zone. So addressing the issues associated with the density and other issues is going to be critical, right? And for the long haul. Next slide, please. So for the specifics of the C1 to be addressed by the committee, the first one is residential densities. And the current zoning, which we were surprised, I think we all had different interpretations of what that is, but it's very clear. From a conditional point of view, multifamily with a minimum of 10 dwelling units per acre and a maximum of 20. Okay? Single family, detached, or townhomes is minimum of 10 and maximum of 20, and it's permissive. So we're going to take a hard look at those densities in the committee. Next slide, please. One of the other major issues of all of the folks in the meetings is the residential heights, and we've kind of extended it also to the commercial heights in the C1 zone. And that's because of where it stands now. And you can see with the 3 bullet points, they're all at 39 feet, which is, for anybody's interpretation, it's 3 stories. Okay, so there's going to be a hard look at that. Next slide, please. The other specific is the minimum densities. I think you've heard a lot of talk about having to have a minimum, that they should probably be removed. We are going to evaluate the elimination of minimums so that any developer can come in and instead of having 12 units, maybe they come in and they want to do 8 with the type of project. So we're going to take a hard look at that. Okay, VC zoning. Next slide, please. Kind of in a similar fashion, we're going to have to deal with the residential densities. And this is interesting. I think we have it now set to a minimum of 24 dwellings per acre, which is pretty high density. Also look at the residential heights within that zone, and then in addition, deal with the minimum densities. And that's, as you can see, the 24 units. And any other miscellaneous items. We have a good feeling that the VC zone is probably going to be very similar to what comes out of the C1 with some minor adjustments. Okay? Next slide, please. The big one, the heavy lift, the pilot conservation. We're going to be looking at these individual bullet points. The requirement of FAR within the ordinance or the the zoning itself, the number of units, if there needs to be that factor in the ordinance, the permitting and approval mechanisms. We're going to try to come up with that process that is more in tune to good review. Target areas, we're going to take a look at that. There's a lot of individuals that have some great ideas. I think everybody on the committee, and including the KLR group, believe that it is something that we should take a hard look at utilizing for the conservation of open space, for the ability to do that in a development. So I think we're all in the belief that it can be hopefully structured properly so we can accomplish that with everybody's buy-in. We're going to look at the open space criteria and what that open space accessibility and suitability should be. So we feel that that's going to be probably the heaviest of the lifts of all of the three, but we think it's possible, don't we? Right? Let's go to the next slide. The timelines, the meetings that we've had to date. We've been working, the first one was the September 8th meeting, and that was rather intense, but we made it through it and we got some good data out of it. The CAC had its first meeting October 31st. We met again November 14th. We met December 6th, and we are now on a weekly schedule to hit the timelines. So our last meeting was December 13th. Our next meeting is the 21st. And we'll be meeting weekly as often as necessary to try to hit the timelines that we've been given. Because, of course, as you all are well aware, we have moratoriums in place, and we've got to get the suggested changes to everything in time for the process to take hold, right? For the review and the approval to go through. Next slide, please. Timeline, proposed adoption timeline. I think this is kind of critical. The C1 zone, we have April 31st as a moratorium deadline. And you guys passed that, and we thank you for that opportunity to have some time to allow this committee to work properly and get the work done. But we project to have February 23rd, the first proposed C1 changes. Internally in the committee, we plan to have the C1 wrapped up by the end of December. So that gives plenty of time for the process to go through, for you guys to go through the initial review and then the passing after that review. And we expect the C1 to be March for the second hearing and the final approval, right? Yes. The VC zone, we have internalized the deadline, hopefully January 31st. And we potentially then can be, hopefully, we're taking a look at the opportunity to make it coterminous with the C1 review process timeline. Okay. Then Ordinance 284, we've got a December 31st deadline. We're not going to be able to give you any hope of any suggestion or suggested changes. So I think the agenda item has a proposal for an extension of that moratorium, and the committee begs you to try to get that passed. And I think we're looking for a May 31st deadline. And if we can get that, we believe internally that we can have the pilot done so that it can be reviewed first in April and then final in May. Got to say, the committee is committed, and we're here to serve. And we understand the importance of this.
Robert, I want to personally thank you for your leadership on this committee. And I can tell you from my perspective and from the perspective of all the village staff, we're going to do whatever it takes to implement the kind of changes that the governing body believes will be necessary. And I think I've watched you in action, I've watched the committee in action, and I'm very impressed. extremely impressed.
Well, thank
I
you.
don't know if the other trustees want to say anything or not.
Well, I would just like to say thank you too. I think, there are often comments made that we aren't hearing, and I feel like this is hearing. I mean, this is something that was brought up that was needed, and I think we all saw that. And I'm just extremely thankful that you all got together and that we're making some strides forward instead of just arguing and moving backwards. We're moving forward, and I think we're all proud to see that happen.
Thank you. And I think we all agree that this is an important step for the coming together, right?
Yes.
Yes, and we thank you for it, the opportunity.
I would just like to say thank you also to you and everybody on the committee.
Yeah.
Trustee Benavides, I think this is a wonderful thing. I think this is something that's going to set a precedent in the village going forward. In this day and time, I can't thank you all enough for giving your time and your effort to this project, and please pass it to the whole committee. I think this is really, it's inspirational to me, and I thank you all very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And I'm sure they do also.
Trustee Benavides, do you want to?
So, yes, thank you for volunteering to do this. This is a lot of work, and you stood up and you took this on. And you're bringing people together. I mean, this all came about from the Keep Los Ranchos Rural Group. And for those residents that don't belong to that group, if they want to keep up to date as to the progress being made, can they just join this group and get
Absolutely.
progress report?
It's open, transparent.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Very good.
We're going to move to item 8, approval of minutes. 8A is minutes, October 12th, 2022, regular meeting. I need a motion to approve the October 12th, 2022 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the October 12th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
I need a second.
I'll second that.
I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
The motion carries unanimously. Item B, minutes, November 9, 2022, regular meeting. I need a motion to approve the November 9, 2022 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 9th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
I need a second.
I second.
I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
I'm going to recuse myself because I was not at that meeting.
The motion carries. Thank you. Item 9 are departmental reports. The departmental reports are included in the packet and reflect all the activities as listed. We will start with Ms. Rinaldi, who would like to expand on her report. Ms. Rinaldi, please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, trustees. I'm just going to hit a couple of highlights from last presentation last month. We have completed the final NMDOT walkthrough, and all items on the punch list were accepted and have been processed through a final pay-up, which we received today. So our final balance to completion that is just being approved for payment is $58,926. So your next report will show you the final contract amount and a zero balance to completion. So that's fantastic. So the last thing on this, we are considered to be completely construction closed. And our last item is an audit, which NMDOT will be conducting in the new year. We don't have a date set for that yet. Preliminary engineering phases, we're closing out. This is the 30% design for which the alternative was selected that we're moving forward with. So that funding expires December 30th, and we're required to have the entire project closed out by January 30th. We'll do that without any issues whatsoever. So we're just processing final invoices. And as we now go into the final engineering phase, we have solicited a proposal from Parametrics Engineering, Planning, and Design to conduct a value engineering exercise in either the last week of January, the first week of February, and we'll do a poll of availability of dates of participants in that. But that exercise will be to look at the 30% design, look at the level of funding that we have, what we can anticipate receiving on our outstanding applications, and look for opportunities in that design to build in some amenity, to be creative with the design, and just to have it looked at from an engineering, planning, and design perspective to see if there are ways that we can, one, fund it quicker, two, improve the level of construction so that constructability in each of the phases is appropriate to the existing conditions in that phase. And it's not just a design, a cookie cutter design from Pueblo Solano all the way to Ortega, the village limits. So I'll give you a little more information on that. I had a discussion with the engineer from Parametrics today, and we will have that proposal by the end of the week. We will forward any additional information on that to you. We are funded for full 100% design, and we will be using balance of phase one funding for that exercise, the value planning exercise. NMDOT, one, they recommended that we do this, and two, they said that we could use existing funding for that. And as we get close to construction, the opportunity to submit the 4th Street project for federal funding at the regional level through the Transportation Improvement Plan administered by the Council of Governments has opened up to select new projects. And I've almost completed our project proposal and have programmed the phases into appropriate funding years in the amounts of those phases. And in doing so, we understand what our match would be. It's a 14.5% match of federal funds to local. Local funds, 14.5 of federal funds. So we are now meeting to ensure that we are able to meet the funds for which we're able to meet the match for the funds that we are now applying for. And I just really quickly like to run that past you so you have some idea of what we're dealing with here. This is for phase 2A, B, and C. 2A, Pueblo Solano to Ranchitos Road. That is $7.268 million, that total project cost. So we would be requesting funding in the amount of about $6.2 million with a local match of $1,058,000. We have the potential to match this with state funds and other grant funds we may secure. And we are looking at programming this into federal fiscal year 2026. Because as you know, we already have some funding from the federal government and legislative appropriations that we may be able to begin construction with before that. But as final design goes through and other applications for funding, I think that's the first available date that we have in the Transportation Improvement Plan to program this significant amount of money. That's phase one. Phase two, which is Ranchitos Road to El Pueblo, is an $8 million project. And our match on that would be about $1.174 million. And then the final one from either just north or just south of the Paseo del Norte Bridge to Ortega and beyond to the village limits is $8,063,000. Same match, $1.17 million. So we're working now to ensure that we can meet those match with gas tax. You know, I have to ask Ann, you don't call it gas tax. Is it called gas tax in the budget? Road fund, so it is the revenue that we receive from gas sales receipts within the village. So we will be meeting in the next few days, over the next couple of weeks. This application is due December 30th for submittal to the COG. So that's just a quick, this is kind of the picture that we're looking at. The other big one, the $27 million application, we still have yet to receive word on that. We're quickly closing in on the end of December, so now we're hoping it's the end of December. And I want to tell you that these amounts that I told you we're requesting funding for, that's reduced in the amount of if we take the Clean Water Revolving Loan Fund money that's been offered to us for each of the phases for all of the stormwater drainage infrastructure, that would be reduced from these totals. Okay. You have the list of all the applications and requests for construction funding that we have out there. I have nothing new to report on that. And moving on to the Agri-Nature Center, we're still working with our respondent on his quote for roadway improvements. And by December 16th, which is Friday, we're supposed to have his new scope that we hope is closer to the available funding of about $372,000. So I will let you know how that comes out. We're looking at, I'm sorry, Trustee Radnovich isn't here this evening because this is I think he'd be pleased, and as are all of us, that this is a very rural road. Now, there's not a whole lot of hard infrastructure that I think a lot of people were afraid might make it look like a subdivision road. It's not going to be that at all. A task order's been issued to Mara Reardon Wilkinson Miller to begin the design for the outdoor classroom kitchen and plaza area. So they are expected to be complete with that design by June 30th. This is being paid for by a legislative appropriation. And Village Center project demolition is ongoing, and I don't have anything to report on that at this time. The co-op funding program, the crack seal and pavement on Tyler Road, both sections east and west. The crack seal began 2 days ago and should probably be complete by the middle of next week. Temperature, it's conditional upon temperature, but they have had the temperature when they've been applying the crack seal material. So Keen's been keeping a real good eye on that. And the notice to proceed for the paving of Tyler Road is to begin January 15th, and they have up until March 30th. We'll be very careful with that one. Keen and his crew are installing some drainage facilities on Tyler prior to Albuquerque Asphalt doing that pavement rehabilitation. So it's going to be a nice complete project. Chavez Road, we had the opportunity to secure an additional $1,370,000, which will be approved hopefully with the mayor's vote at the Metropolitan Transportation Board meeting this Friday. There was excess Transportation Alternative Project money, TAP, which is what we're funded for, design now, preliminary engineering. So this additional 1.37 will be added onto the Chavez Trail Road to complete design and, if necessary, right-of-way acquisition. If right-of-way acquisition after the survey is complete is seen to not be necessary, those funds will turn into construction funds. There's an application due March 1st that I'll be submitting for additional construction funds on that project. So that one's moving along pretty quick, much quicker than we anticipated. And we issued a task order for design in the amount of about $17,000 to Mara Reardon Wilkinson Miller to design the monument signage and wayfinding signage for the entirety of 4th Street, not just the complete phase, but it'll be used throughout the entire length of 4th Street, all the way to the village limits. And they will have that to us by April 3rd. We received 3 proposals from our call for proposals and estimates under the Mid-Region Council of Government call for projects for the transportation analysis. And we've asked them to supply by this Friday, by the 16th, we've asked them to supply additional sample projects that they have completed that are similar to ours. They were decent proposals. I just wasn't satisfied that they were quite understanding the project we're looking for, and I want a comparative of something they've actually done similar to that. So they have until this Friday, and they've all responded saying that they would get that to us. So I'll let you know on that. And I believe that's it, unless you have any questions.
Okay, do the trustees have any questions for Ms. Rinaldi? And I'm going to go trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco,
I do not.
trustee Lewis,
There we go. First of all, Maria, I would just like to say thank you. I can't tell you how much we appreciate all the hard work you put into this and how good you make us look like we know what we're doing, and it's really you that are doing a tremendous job, and I want everybody to know she works tirelessly, and she has, and she continues to, and it gets very complicated and very detailed, and you do a tremendous job. So first, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to make sure, first, I saw that we have a balance expiring June 30th, 2023 for design of Phase 2, and for monument and parking lot signings on Phase 1. So we feel comfortable. They're going to get back to us April 3rd with the wayfinding and the signage, and we feel comfortable that we will not lose that.
That's correct. Mayor, Trustee Lewis, we have 30 days after expiration of the grants to get all of our stuff turned in. So by that deadline, all work will be completed, and the contractors are required to have all their invoices paid by then.
Okay,
So yes, that's a condition in the task order.
great, thank you. I didn't think anything would get by you, but I needed to ask the question. My second question is, with the Clean Water Revolving Fund, do we have a match on that?
Mayor, Trustee Lewis, we do not have a match. This is a very low-interest loan
Okay,
that we're waiting to get through the value engineering process so that we determine whether this is an appropriate match for us, that the acceptance of the loan works within our budget and in accordance with our schedule. So we'll make that determination as we go through that process.
do you have an idea of a timetable on that? Will that be a budget, in next year's budget?
Yes.
Not
Trustee
this year's
Lewis,
budget, but next year's budget?
it will be
probably.
coming up in your proposed fiscal year budget, yes.
Okay. And then value engineering for the entrance roadway for the Ag Center. We're not going to have to give away the farm, are we, to get down to that number? I mean, the numbers are pretty far apart right now. And can you just discuss that process a little bit more and how you're feeling?
Certainly. Mayor, Trustee Lewis, at this point, as long as it performs as a roadway and does everything, we're satisfied that it performs the connectivity from Rio Grande Boulevard through the Ag Center, making the connections to all the areas that the mayor, the administrator, and the staff of the Ag Nature Center deem necessary. If they can meet that at this number, we will go forward. If they cannot, when those numbers come in on Friday and we have a chance to look at them, we'll requote it. We are running up, that money expires June 30th as well. So I've been speaking with other contractors who are on the state price agreement, not to this specifically, but some of them missed it. I don't know how they missed our request for quotes, but we would always have the opportunity to request it. And that's a pretty quick turnaround. That's a 10 working day process.
Right.
So
Okay.
if this Friday we're not satisfied that we're getting a roadway for the amount of money we have funding for, we will go back through the process.
Okay. Again, I just want to thank you for representing the village in something so critical to us, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
okay, trustee Benavides.
Yeah, I think I spent a half hour with Maria on the phone getting clarification on her report, and she answered all my questions. So I just want to say, you're managing these projects and you're doing a great job. You're giving us updates about the funding, the tasks that need to be completed. You know where to go to get the money, and you're the right person for the job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Maria. If the governing body has questions on any of the remaining staff reports, we will have each trustee ask all their questions before we move to the next trustee. We'll start with trustee Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor. This is with regard to your report, Mayor, in regard to hiring Ms. Kim Legant.
Yes.
Just curious, can we get a little bit more information about who she is and what she's done? Is she a lobbyist currently?
Yes. Let me answer that question directly, and then if Ann Simon wants to pipe in. We reached out to some of the top lobbyists in the Middle Rio Grande region, and her name popped up, and so we interviewed her. She comes with an exceptional background, and other lobbyists, like the lobbyist for the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District, the lobbyists that recommended her, who represents City of Albuquerque, Bernalillo County, speak extremely highly of her, and she's ready to start work. In fact, she's already started, to be honest. And her and I will be coordinating our efforts in Santa Fe to get money, because this is the year we're being told that there is a significant amount of funding available from the New Mexico legislature to assist communities like the village of Los Ranchos. So I believe that we've made an exceptional hire. Ann, do you want to say any more?
Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, trustees, I think you summed it up. We interviewed Ms. Legant. We really liked her. She loves small communities. She's from a small community in New Mexico, and she is really excited to go to bat for us in Santa Fe.
Fabulous. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to congratulate you on your appointment to the Board of Directors of the Albuquerque-Bernalillo County Water Utility Authority. I don't know what all that is going to entail for you, but I'm sure it's going to be good for us as well.
Well, let me offer a comment. I've spent 49 years as a professional engineer, predominantly in water resource engineering. And so working on the TCAC with the Bernalillo County Water Authority, who approved my appointment, is like putting on a glove that you love, because that expertise I can bring to that. It's been pointed out to us a number of times that water resources, the future of water in New Mexico, is perhaps one of the most critical issues facing not only Los Ranchos, the region, but the entire state. And so if I can help them with my 49 years of professional engineering water resources experience, I will do that.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to thank Ann and the staff for getting the decorations up on 4th Street. This has been something we've been talking about for, I think, at least the last couple of years. And I gotta say, I was nicely surprised when I rode down 4th Street and saw the decorations up, and at night it's lit up. And I hope that we can, move forward with other holidays too. I think that's why we have that beautiful stretch of road, and we want to show it off, and hopefully we can decorate it moving forward for other holidays as well. So thank you, Ann and staff, for getting that done. Let's see. This is for Josh. And Josh, I don't know that I do have a question, but I also want to, while you're walking up here, say congratulations to you and to your team at the Agri-Nature Center. I think you guys have truly become a center of educational excellence with everything that you've done this year. It just seems like there's workshop after workshop, and it seems like they're extremely popular. It looks like you're putting things out there that residents and the greater community are interested in. So I wanted to say congratulations and thank you for putting that all together. It's really come together nicely this year. You talk about a workshop on landscape and garden design for dogs. Just kind of curious, what is that?
Yeah, so that workshop was put on by Wes Brittenham from Los Poblanos. And he's done a lot of, before he was the horticulturalist there, he worked for a lot of nurseries and also had his own landscaping business. And so we had been approached by a lot of people saying, oh, I try to put in a garden and my dog digs it up, or I try to, how do I design with pets in mind and different animals in mind and be able to have native landscape and garden as well. So he offered to present on that, and he talked about, observing animals, what routes they take, what areas they go, and then providing what they need, and then being able to build around that and with that in mind. So yeah, it was very interesting and well attended. Yeah.
So there's a strategy to it.
There is,
Which is great.
apparently. Yeah.
So after looking at everything that you all did this year, are you evaluating the workshops to see which ones we might duplicate in the future? How's that process?
Yeah, so we did that last year as well. So we looked at numbers, what was the most popular, most well attended. We also put out a survey to see what topics people would like to see out with our newsletter, what topics people would like to see moving forward. We did do some repeats this past year with the ones that were the most popular. And we also looked at what can we do new. So we have a current workshop list for the winter-spring semester going till June, which will come out in the Village Vision in January. We also have a new livestock coordinator on board, so we want to do more education with livestock. We've met with different organizations. It's really nice now that, like you say, the Agri-Nature Center is becoming more known. I'm getting a lot of calls of people that want to present there, and so it's just about evaluating what are the topics that will be most beneficial, what have we not covered, and how we can fill the gaps.
Excellent. Well, success breeds success. So I only see it, and I think we all only see it getting better from here. And again, congratulations to you and your staff for doing such a great job.
Thank you.
Before I get to Trustee Benavides, or Trustee Lewis, I'm sorry, I just want to say, Josh, that from the day I became mayor to today, I've never seen anything like the Agri-Nature Center. It's a one and only in New Mexico. I don't think there's any other place like it. And quite frankly, it's getting better with time. And a lot of that has to do with you. And so I'm so happy you're around. Trustee Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My first is for Director or Administrator Simon. And I had a couple questions. One, in sort of in the finances, but we've received the money for the American Rescue Act. We haven't spent a lot of it yet, and I wondered if you could maybe touch on some of the things we decided we were going to spend it on, and when we think the timetable is going to be.
Excellent question, Mayor and Trustee Lewis, trustees. So during the mid-year budget, Tammy Silva and I will be bringing to you the balance of the Rescue Act funds that we have allocated. As you may recall, in 2020, I believe, we allocated some sort of buckets for what we would spend and the Rescue Act funds on. And this all related to COVID, obviously. So things like technology improvements for the Village Hall, increased budget for Zoom, more IT support, that kind of thing. We also needed supplies, masks, gloves, cleaning supplies. We needed more public safety for messaging, for public safety messages to the community, website improvements, those kinds of things. So I will have an entire list of what we allocated, what we've spent, and what still remains. And we do have the opportunity to reallocate some of that funding. It is ours. There are some specifications on what we are to do with that funding, but we are able to move that money around, and we'll bring that back to you in January. I will say we have 3 years to spend the funds. So I believe, Mayor, you can correct me, I believe we have until the end of '24.
I think it's even farther out than that, I believe. But anyway, we can check on that.
Okay. Secondly, just for village residents that are here and people that are on Zoom, we had a big election last month, We got open space bonding approved. Where do we go from here?
Great question, Mayor and trustees, Trustee Lewis. Thank you so much. We consulted with a financial advisor about a year ago to find out what our bonding capacity was. We have about $8 million of bonding capacity. Now we have been given approval by the public to issue bonds, general revenue bonds for the acquisition of open space. We are now looking at making a purchase. We know of a couple of properties that are coming on the market soon. We have to act with discretion, obviously, but we would like to make a purchase in the new year.
Thank you. My next questions, let's see, I left some hard questions out for you, Maria. No, I'm just kidding. My next questions are for Josh. Josh, can you, first of all, I'd like to say, I talked to Josh when I walked in this evening, and I understand there's a possibility of some expenditure for a security llama or donkey at the Ag Center. If you could tell people a little bit about that, and I want you to know you have my full support for the money for that. So.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, no, we were just talking about the coyotes and the need to keep the livestock safe, the sheep, chickens, and if we end up with more small livestock, the need to keep them safe. And so the best way to do that is either with a guardian dog or a guardian animal. And since we don't have somebody living on site, guardian animals such as llamas or donkeys do a great job keeping coyotes at bay. So we were talking about that, and our personal preference would be for a llama. So.
Well, you have my full support. Okay.
Well, and there's actually a llama adoption agency in Albuquerque, so maybe we'd be able to adopt one without purchasing one.
That'd be great. My second question is, could you explain a little bit more on the trolley program? And you know, I know we're going to refurbish the trolley that some of us longer timers have ridden in, and it needs some refurbishing. So if you could explain that program a little bit more for people, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so Anne may be able to speak more to the funding sources for that, but we're partnering with the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy and Cutbow Coffee. We would like to take the trolley and turn it into a coffee shop to be able to have next to the new roadway that comes in for people to be able to come in and get coffee there. The Albuquerque Sign Language Academy is looking for some workforce development for their students who are aging out of their program, which ends at 22. And so their students are looking to build skills, and they've been working with us at the Akron Nature Center through the Youth Conservation Corps. And so they get paid to work at the Ag Center, and we've also worked at some other farms in Los Ranchos to give them other opportunities and skills. And this way they would also be able to learn how to be baristas as well. So it'd be a workforce development program to partner with Albuquerque Sign Language Academy and YCC, who would be able to pay them. We have a good relationship with the owner of Cutbow Coffee, who has said that he would train them, help manage it, operate it, and then we would be able to provide the trolley there to on site. So it would be a collaboration between some great organizations to provide workforce development and have a nice place for people to be able to come in, enjoy the farm, and get a cup of coffee.
Will it have hours that people can just stop by and get coffee? Is that part of the plan then? It'll be open certain hours?
Absolutely,
days?
Yeah. Yeah, so the main thing would be to provide training and the opportunity for these youth. So we would have regular hours. They could learn to be on time, when to work, do a timesheet, all those kind of things. So it would have regular hours so they could have a regular work schedule. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Josh. I have no more questions.
Thank you. Trustee Benavides.
Yes, so my my first question comes from your report, Mayor.
Sure.
So, yeah, there's a bullet on levies, and I remember we talked about this 6 months ago or longer, that this was going to be happening. And so we want to measure the efficacy of the levies, right? And who will be doing that work, and how do we measure that?
Well, let me explain. In September of 2021, I convened a stakeholder group here at Los Ranchos, including U.S. Congresswoman Melanie Stansbury, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Middle Rio Grande Conservancy. Some of the other congressional delegations were here, our staff. And the purpose was to advise that these levees that protect Los Ranchos were built in the early 1950s. While they met standards then, they don't meet FEMA standards now. So if FEMA decides to remap the area, when a person sells a home in Los Ranchos, flood insurance will be mandatory, and the price will be in the stratosphere. And so what's going to happen is, I've taken the initiative because no one else seems to be willing to do it, and I live not far from the levee. I don't want that levee to fail and put 10 feet of water at my home, and it could flood the entire Middle Rio Grande Valley if the levees fail. And of course, the levees are not in that good shape. I happen to know that for a fact. So I went out and I obtained a $500,000 Homeland Security grant to begin the process of studying the levee and coming up with some documentation that will help us move forward to attain funding to reconstruct the levees. So the work will be done. We're working on an RFP right now to select an architect engineer who has expertise, and that individual firm will be able to help us out in presenting the data. And also during the legislature, I'm going to be talking to legislators about how we can create a trust fund to not only fix the Los Ranchos levees, but there's other levees up and down the Middle Rio Grande that need funding. So that's the basic answer to your question.
Okay, thank you. You bet. It sounds important.
It is, very.
Let's see. And, yeah, for Josh, about the Agri-Nature Center. Let's see. So, yeah, so reading your report, I couldn't help but notice there was a field of sorghum that was planted at John Sparks' property. And I thought it was very interesting because, it must have been 15 years ago I planted sorghum, which is also known as Sudan grass, if I'm correct, right?
Same family.
That stuff grows like crazy. And it's over 6 foot tall. And I couldn't sell it, however, at that time. Maybe it's viewed differently today. But so what I did is I put some cattle on it, and they went crazy. They love that stuff. Where do you see the future for sorghum in the village or in the valley in general?
Absolutely. So that project came out of our Agri-Futures program. One of the teams that's working on regenerative agriculture wanted to look at what cover crops work well in the middle of the summer when it's really hot. And so really it's about soil health. So this sorghum was grown next to some buckwheat, some ryegrass, and some other varieties. And the sorghum was what lasted through the summer, like you said. It grows really well, gets really tall. And so we were able to now take soil samples and measure how much organic matter was added to the soil to improve that field while using very little water in the middle of the summer. So it seems to be suited well to our hot climates to be able to be a viable cover crop in the summer for those who don't want to fallow their fields, want to fallow it with something on it so it's not a decibel. And also, what we did is we took the heads, we're saving seed off of that field. We'll be threshing it tomorrow, and that seed will go back into being able to use it again. So we're not using it as a cash crop, but half of our herd of sheep is now over there using it as a forage crop. Since we don't have much growing right now in the middle of the winter, they're using all that debris as a forage crop. So they will mow down that cover crop and provide some fertilizer to it, to that field, so that it'll be ready for planting in the spring.
So, yeah, I agree, it's more than just a cover crop, right?
It's a cover crop, and it's a good forage crop that's well suited to the hot environment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's see. A question for Fred in regards to safety. So when was it back in November? I think we were surprised with a SWAT team exercise. Will we get any notifications in the future if any type of exercises are happening in the village? Or did we get a notification on that one?
Mayor, Trustee Benavides, their SWAT team operates on Wednesdays. That's their training day.
Okay.
So they have set them up randomly throughout the last several years within the village. Specific notice, no, we don't get it. We can talk to them about getting it in the future, but Wednesdays is their training day, and so we had an agreement with them for the last year on all that property to use it continuously. And what they would wait for is right before it would be demolished, and then they would go in and do their training activities where they could actually do some demolition.
Oh, no, I mean, I can see the attraction to doing an exercise on a piece of property that's going to be demolished anyway. But I was just thinking it might be important to get prior notice, at least for the mayor might.
I can offer a comment. I met with the new incoming elected sheriff, John Allen, yesterday. I didn't bring that question up, but that's a question that we can bring up with John. And he was very amenable to working with the village. I think we're going to have an exceptional relationship with Bernalillo County Sheriff.
Okay.
Exceptional. Take my word for it. Okay?
I mean, just in case something else is going on that might
Absolutely.
conflict, right?
No, absolutely. I think we can work on that. Again, they were using that property for the last couple of years, actually, in that different areas. But we can make sure that if they're doing anything within the village, that they let us know.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I wouldn't want to stop any of that.
Right.
That's not the point, yeah. Okay, thanks, Fred.
Thanks.
Let's see, I think that's all. Thanks.
Okay. We're going to move to financial business. Item 10. 10A is discussion and approval of the November 2022 cash report. CFO Tammy Silva will be participating via Zoom. Kiko, will you bring Ms. Silva into the meeting?
Tammy, can you hear us and come in on the meeting with your video and audio?
Yes, so can you hear me? I am in. It is not allowing me to start my video. It says because the host has stopped it.
Okie dokie. Go ahead and start, and then I'll try to add your video.
Go ahead, Ms. Silva.
Okay, so before you tonight, Mayor, Trustees, is the cash report for November 30th, 2022. We have an ending cash balance at November 30th of $11,127,967.31. This is an increase of $317,617.26 for the month. And that brings us to a year-to-date excess of revenue over expenditures of $1,259,575.09. For the month of November, there were no unusual or significant items.
Okay. Before we get to discussion from the governing body, I do need a motion to approve the cash report.
Motion to approve the cash report.
I need a second.
Second.
Now, going trustee by trustee, do we have any questions or discussion from the governing body? Trustee Pacheco.
I don't have any questions, but I do have a comment. I just want to say that I think this is the first time since I've sat on the Board of Trustees that I've seen the cash balance over 11 million.
Can I interject?
Please.
I've been elected in this village since March 1992. This village has never had a cash balance over $11 million. So we are in solid financial position. But I can tell you, when I report to the village residents at the time our audit is released, and I can't talk about the audit at this moment, you will understand why directly we're in this position. So that's my answer right now. Okay.
Well, I think it's great. And again, I just would love to commend the village staff, you, Mayor, for, getting us to this position. And I think, and I hope that we're all making the right decisions. It looks like it is, like we are. And it just feels good to be in this kind of position. So just wanted to make that comment, and that's all I had.
Okay, Trustee Lewis.
I have no comments.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes, reading the cash report is always a very humbling experience for me. And so I'm going to ask you a few questions, not because I have any doubts about your report. It's more about me doubting my ability to comprehend your report. And it's probably good for the public to learn more about how to read this cash report anyway. So if I'm looking at page 71 under revenues, the general fund revenues, and I look at current period cash basis, period to date actual, okay? So I see 446,500 roughly. So apparently that was above what we estimated. Is that correct so far? I'm thinking we estimated 392,000. So let me ask the question about this 446,500. That, I would assume that would be a summation of our gross receipts, tax plus other things. Is that correct?
Mayor Trustee Benavides, that is all correct so far, yes.
Okay. And the gross receipts, I see on the, where you have the graph, I think. Oh, shoot, I passed it up somewhere. What page is that?
Mayor Trustee Benavides, so if you're looking for the total gross receipt number for the month, it's $405,336.
What page?
Page 70.
That's going to be on page,
Page 7,
3
okay.
of the
That's, all right. Yeah, so that's right. I can see that now. It's from November 2023 fiscal year is 405,337. And so there's a difference there, and where do I see the source for that difference? Where does it come in?
So Mayor Trustee Benavides, so when you're looking at that total GRT number, that is we split our GRT into 3 portions. 2 of those hit the general fund. The third portion hits our road tax, our road fund. And so really, if you're looking at the number that you referenced earlier, the general fund revenue of $446,000, what you're looking at there is we have about $384,000 in GRTs that came in this month. We have close to $30,000 in franchise tax, and then we have $10,000 from investment income from the LGIP investment pool. And then the rest of that are small portions that come from several different small revenue sources, which include animal permit fees, building permit fees, excavation barricade permits, business registrations, parcel permits, home occupation fees, application fees. So there's a bunch of different fees in there, and they are all small amounts. So our biggest sources are from our GRT and our franchise tax and our investment income right now.
Okay, I see that now. Thank you. Let me see if I might have one more question. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call for the question. Go ahead, Trustee Lewis. Sure.
There we go. I just want to let you know, probably 3 years ago, I mean, we used to get financial reports that were about 40 pages.
Right.
And page after page, and you know, it was like, here's what's happened on roadway fund this month, nothing, but you had a page for it, and you had another page. And so we worked to consolidate it down, but any of these, just like, that was an excellent question, and I can guarantee you Tammy can provide you a page that'll answer that question. We just decided to try to shorten it up, and then if trustees had more questions, ask Tammy and she'll provide the pages, but there were
No, I
lots and
agree.
lots of pages.
You know, we can't get too far into the weeds, and I don't want to do that.
No, but it's good educational
I think the
material.
reports that she's giving us has the information. It's slow, it's, for me to comprehend it, it's very slow.
Well, and I just want to emphasize, don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, she can provide
And-
anything you can think of, but we just consolidated it, and then we thought, well, if anytime any of us have a question, we just go ask her, and she'll provide us the information.
Thanks.
Okay, at this time, I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item B, discussion and approval of resolution number 2022-12-01, a resolution recommending budget adjustment revisions / VAR to the Cannabis Excise Tax Fund. CFO Tammy Silva.
Thank you, Mayor, Trustees. Before you is the budget adjustment request, 2022-12-01. And what this is a budget adjustment for is for the cannabis excise tax. The reason we are doing a bar is the state of New Mexico asked us not to budget for cannabis excise tax until we had several months of tax collection and data to be able to look at and see and give an actual realistic number for the potential revenue that we might receive this year. Now that we've had several months of data that's been collected by the state, they went ahead and asked us this past month to go ahead and budget for this. So we took the data and the income that we've received since July, and what we're presenting here is a resolution to add revenue in the cannabis excise tax for the year of an increase of $5,832.
Okay, so before we get to discussion from the governing body, I need a motion to approve the resolution.
Motion to approve the resolution.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, let's go to questions or discussion from the governing body, trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
Thank you, Mayor. Tammy, so this amount is based on what we've received like over the last 4 months? Is this through November? July through November?
So yes, Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, what this number is based off of is the July through November revenue that we've received. So through November, we've received about $2,000, and that is to say some months we received a certain dollar amount, and some months we received nothing. So taking that into consideration, if that trend continues, that's the number that we came up with based on that those months.
Okay, so it's more of an average.
Yes.
Over those 4 months. And we don't know what it's going to do in the future, and we may have to adjust again.
Mayor, Trustee Pacheco, so that's correct. We don't know what it's going to do in the future, and for this year, we could adjust again if we would like to. However, we don't necessarily need to. For the budget, the state requires us to budget expenditures as accurately as possible. Revenue is more of a forecast, to where if we were to have more than this amount come in, there's nothing that's going to cause an issue for us. There won't be any sort of finding or issue with that. It would just end up that we ended up receiving more revenue. The only reason we budget more conservatively on revenue is that if we want to use that money, we don't over budget our expenditures.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all I have, Mayor.
Trustee Lewis.
I have no questions.
Trustee Benavides.
No questions.
Okay, I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item C, discussion and approval of resolution number 2022-12-02, a resolution recommending budget adjustment revisions, BAR, to the FEMA grant fund. CFO Tammy Silva.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustees, before you is the resolution for a budget adjustment. Resolution 2022-12-02. This budget adjustment request is for proposing the FEMA grant fund. Right now, we do not have a FEMA grant fund set up because we have not received any FEMA money in several years. So we are first requesting to add Fund 309 to our budget. And that would be where we will have the FEMA grant revenue and expenditures to look at for the year, and that's where we will house that money. So this resolution is doing a couple things. The first part that it is doing, it is taking money for the FEMA levy grant match that we have currently in the general fund. We budgeted $50,000 at the beginning of this year for that match that we would need. And we are actually moving that $50,000 out of the professional services in the general fund and into the professional services in the 309 FEMA fund. So that's the first portion of this bar. The second portion of this bar is adding revenue line items for the FEMA grant revenue. We're adding 2 revenue line items, a FEMA federal portion where the federal portion of $326,341.41 is going to be budgeted, and then also adding the revenue line item for the local match, and that match portion is going to be $108,780.47. So this bar is to add that fund into our budget so that when we receive these funds, we can go ahead and use them this year as we receive them.
Thank you, Tammy. Before we get to discussion from the governing body, I need a motion to approve resolution number 2022-12-02.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-12-02.
I need a second.
Second.
Now we'll get to discussion from the governing body, trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
I don't have any questions.
Trustee Lewis.
I have no questions.
Trustee Benavides.
No questions.
I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 11, public hearings. A, discussion and approval to advertise ordinance number 293, granting a franchise to Comcast of New Mexico, LLC, to construct, maintain, and operate cable facilities and infrastructure in the public rights-of-way within the village of Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, repealing ordinance number 66. Attorney Nan Winter.
Mayor, trustees, this is just an approval to advertise. It'll come back onto your agenda either in January or February. I apologize for the length of it. It clogged up a good portion of your agenda. That is just the nature of the form of agreement that Comcast prefers.
Okay.
So for the record, my preferred form of agreement for Comcast was about 15 pages longer.
Okay.
But we did negotiate and have been negotiating with Comcast for over a year.
Right.
We have agreed to use their base form. It includes the basic right-of-way agreement and as an attachment, customer service standards. What's in your packet today is 98% agreed to. There are still issues outstanding, and I do wish Trustee Radnovich were here because Comcast did agree to his tree trimming language.
Wonderful.
So that's in there. This is a 5% of gross revenue franchise fee that is federally regulated. That is why it's different than the gas company and the P&M, which are in the 2%, 3%, and 4% range. Most of what you see in here is because Comcast is federally regulated. You have more rights with Comcast to regulate them than you do with P&M and gas company.
Okay.
So a lot of what's in here, again, is Comcast preferred form language.
Sure.
And 2, what's required by federal law. The customer service standards are fairly substantial, and we borrowed the city of Albuquerque's customer service standards. Those were customer service standards that I participated in the negotiation of on behalf of the city of Albuquerque. So we took those and put them into this agreement. Comcast is not at this point completely in agreement that you may use those. I'm not sure why. We haven't gotten a response from them.
Okay.
But again, you have the same authority that the city of Albuquerque does to a great extent.
All right.
With that, again, we will tweak this a little bit more and bring it back to you in January or February, depending on where Comcast is on some of the language in this agreement.
Thank you, Attorney Nan Winter. Before we get to discussion from the governing body and potential comments from the general public, I need a motion to approve the advertisement of ordinance number 293.
I'll make a motion to approve to advertise ordinance number
I
293.
need a second.
I'll second.
Let me get to discussion and/or questions from the governing body, trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
I just have a comment. I'd like to commend our legal counsel and our administration for putting together such a protective agreement. I don't think I have ever read anything that is more protective of the village than this agreement. I'm not an expert at reading through franchise agreements, but I could see that there were points in here made on in multiple areas that protect the village of Los Ranchos. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. And I read through it. Most of it I understood, some of it I did not, but it to me sounded like a great agreement. Thank you.
Trustee Lewis.
I did not read completely through it. I'll be the first to admit, but I did have a question, and it's a 10-year agreement, but could you explain a little bit the circumstances under which Comcast could cancel it?
Trustee, there's, I think what you might be referring to is a provision, I think in section 2.7 or 6?
6, yeah.
6, okay. So I would back you up to section 2.6 A. That section is titled competitive equity, and under federal law, as it concerns Comcast, not any other utility, but as it concerns Comcast, we have to keep the playing field with cable providers level. So all of section 2.6 is devoted to the instance in which you award to another cable provider. Comcast then has the right to request the same terms and conditions. And if you don't accommodate them, they have the right to terminate after a certain period of time. But again, it's a federal provision, have to keep them on the same field, level playing field as other cable providers. The chances of another cable provider approaching you when you are completely surrounded by Comcast service territory is pretty slim.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Trustee Benavides.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was even a potential cable provider out there that would compete with Comcast. Is there such a?
Yes, Mayor, trustees. Interestingly enough, I also worked on the Corrales Comcast agreement, and on the north end of Corrales, it's Cable One serves Rio Rancho and comes down into the north end of Corrales. So those north end of Corrales folks have, an opportunity to pick a cable provider. So, but in your case, you're just completely surrounded.
So I did skim through it. It's a long agreement. I didn't read it thoroughly, so I appreciate your summary. But, I did pick up on something on page 95. It's a non-exclusive agreement, right?
Correct.
So that somebody else could come in.
Correct.
How would that work? I mean, I assume the cables, the infrastructure belongs to Comcast. So would they then just in parallel put down their own infrastructure?
Mayor, trustee, it's non-exclusive because the New Mexico Constitution forbids any municipality from granting an exclusive franchise for anything, like taxis, utility services, etc. Sewer service, garbage service. So you can't, none of these franchises are exclusive. So this is just cable service. It's not broadband, it's not internet. So it would be hard for somebody to come in and lay down new cable to provide cable service to you. I highly doubt that Comcast would allow anyone to use its cable to provide cable service.
Well, I mean, at the end of this, if this agreement will expire at some point, and if Comcast is no longer willing to provide service or no longer care to bid on the job, who then owns the infrastructure that's left behind?
Mayor, trustee, Comcast will, unless they affirmatively abandon the service, they will always own the infrastructure. If they affirmatively abandon the service, then this franchise obligates them to remove those facilities from the right-of-way.
They would have to remove it.
Remove them. But they could negotiate with us on that point as well.
I see.
But again, this is just cable.
Yeah.
And cable is something that is slowly, very slowly going away.
Yes.
This is not, again, not internet or broadband. We are only authorizing them to provide that channel lineup that you see if you subscribe to Comcast, right? This isn't Netflix. This isn't your high-speed internet.
No. Well, I mean, people do get their internet over the cable, right?
Correct. Well, they get it through Comcast's fiber system, which also supplies a cable service.
I don't have fiber in my house.
No.
Yeah.
No, so there's, the internet is not subject to this franchise agreement. So in other words, you're authorized to collect 5% of gross revenue on cable service.
Right.
So when you look at your bill from Comcast, you might have a cable line item, you might have an internet line item, and you might have a telephone line item. We're only getting 5% of the cable line item.
I didn't realize that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all.
Okay. Danielle, is there anybody that signed up prior wishing to speak that is germane to this item of business?
Mayor and trustees, I received no prior signups.
Okay. Is there anyone participating remotely that wishes to speak on this matter that signed up prior? If so, please use the raise your hand button.
There is nobody who signed up or who is online right now.
Thank you. I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco?
Yes.
Trustee Lewis?
Yes.
Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 12, unfinished business, 12A. Discussion and approval for, go ahead.
Sometimes you allowed, I didn't anticipate.
Danielle, no, I
didn't anticipate that sometimes you swear people in that might want to.
go ahead, Danielle. Can you comment on this?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is a public hearing, but it is not a quasi-judicial hearing. It is allowing the public to speak on an ordinance.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that's
Yes, we're
correct.
not closing the floor for comments tonight because you will have that opportunity when we bring it back.
Okay. 12A, unfinished business. Discussion and approval for adoption of ordinance number 292, amending the Village of Los Ranchos Codified Ordinances, Chapter 2, Article 1, Section 4, the village treasurer's compensation. Administrator Simon.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. Yes, before you is a matter approving an amendment to Ordinance 292 related to the village treasurer's compensation and residential requirement. We are first recommending a change to change the language that the treasurer may be a village resident versus shall be a village resident. We have had difficulty finding qualified treasurers, and this just helps us widen the pool of candidates. Also, we are recommending increasing the pay or the compensation to the treasurer to $1,000 per pay period from $400 per month. We have an excellent and qualified treasurer currently, Will Fisher. He is a CPA. He works for a lending institution. He has an MBA. I think that was a point of contention last time. He reviews and approves payroll. He, of course, approves and reviews and analyzes the cash report and works with Tammy on the cash report. He approves AP checks, bank recs, and he's one of 3 check signers. He plays a very pivotal and important role for checks and balances of our financials in the village. This change would create parity with other subject matter experts, and we urge your approval tonight. Thanks.
Thank you, Administrator Simon. Before we get to discussion or questions from the governing body, I need a motion to approve ordinance number 292.
Motion to approve ordinance 292.
I need a second.
I will second.
Okay, let's get to discussion from the governing body, trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
I have none, Mayor.
Trustee Lewis.
I have none. My questions were all discussed out and answered last month, so.
Trustee Benavides.
Yeah, I have a few questions just for clarification. Under 2.1.4, let's see, I'll just go ahead and read it. The mayor shall appoint a treasurer to serve 2-year term unless sooner removed by the mayor. The treasurer may be either a village employee or a village resident and shall be qualified to perform the duties prescribed by law. So it's just a little confusing. Wouldn't the treasurer be a village employee? How would they not be a village employee?
Mayor, Trustee Benavides, you actually raise a good question. The treasurer is an appointed, almost like a consultant, so does not receive benefits, is not part of a full-time salaried position within the village. But if we are short a treasurer, we can turn to an employee, a current employee, and have that employee serve the role of the treasurer.
And let me offer this.
Okay.
Other towns have clerk treasurers because they're so small, they can't even find somebody in that community to serve in the role. But Los Ranchos does not want to do that. And the reason we don't want to do that is our clerk is overloaded with work right now. And it would be impossible for us to just dump this workload on her.
That's not where I was going.
No, I understand that. The point is the logic behind it.
And Mayor and Trustee Benavides, if I could also just add to what the mayor said, we have a separation of duties.
Right.
Our CFO Tammy Silva works one side of the financials. She is looking at what's in our bank accounts. She's not writing the checks. We have our Danielle Cedillo Molina is also our CPO, so she's checking on the procurement side. So we need somebody who is performing a different role. And if we did not have Will Fisher, we would have to find somebody other than Danielle, Tammy, or myself.
So I think you got to the root of my question when you said that the person could be a contractor, and that means they would not really be a village employee. Is that the distinction?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and then, so about the part where it says shall be qualified to perform the duties prescribed by law. So the part that's prescribed by law would be the duties, not, are there qualifications prescribed by law as well?
Do you want to try to answer that question, Dan? Because there is a statute.
Yeah.
Mayor, Trustee Benavides, there is a statute. I did look at it a few weeks back when we were looking at this issue. I can pull it and then answer your question in a minute.
Okay. I'm going to, for the time being, assume that he meets those qualifications. And then the final thing is, it's interesting that you mentioned about the pay period. because you say it in two different ways. You say $400 per month was what it used to be, and then now you say it's $1,000 per pay period. So is the period a month or not?
Mayor, Trustee Benavides, there are
26.
12 months in a year, but there are 26 pay periods in a year.
Okay, all right, so that's a big difference. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Let's see. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 13A, new business. Discussion and approval of resolution number 2022-12-03, a resolution extending the moratorium on pilot project and conservation development standards permit applications to May 31st, 2023. Administrator Simon.
Thank you, Mayor, Trustees. As you heard from Robert Chavez, the Citizens Advisory Committee is chugging away and is going to be looking at the pilot conservation ordinance to recommend changes. They need a little bit more time. And we propose extending the deadline for any new pilot conservation projects to be considered to May 31st of next year.
Okay, before we get to discussion and/or questions from the governing body, I need a motion to approve resolution number 2022-12-03.
A motion to approve resolution 2022-12-03.
I need a second.
I second.
Okay, I'm going to go for questions or discussion from the governing body, trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
I have no questions.
Trustee Lewis.
I have no questions.
Trustee Benavides.
No questions.
Okay. Danielle, is there anyone that signed up prior wishing to speak that is germane to this item of business?
Mayor, yes, thank you. Mr. Randy McKee? Okay, Ms. Linda McKee? Please state your name and address for the record. You have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Linda McKee, 749 Chavez Road Northwest. I'm requesting that you vote in favor of extending the moratorium for these reasons. A more acceptable ordinance in keeping with the rural character of the village needs to be defined. We need to take the time to do this right. We do not want our village to look like another densely populated Northeast Heights. The recently approved pilot project on the corner of Chavez and Guadalupe, am I not being heard? Oh, do I need to start over? I don't want to, yeah, you don't need me to start over, but I will say we need to take time to get this right. We do not want our village to look like another densely populated Northeast Heights. The recently approved pilot project on the corner of Chavez and Guadalupe demonstrates the current ordinance gone wrong. Spot zoning allowing a developer to work around the spirit and intent of a conservation project. The village residents have overwhelmingly stated their desire to maintain our natural green infrastructure, which can provide places for recreation, preserve our wildlife corridors, and enhance our quality of life. The current standard does not align with the village residents' vision of what Los Ranchos should be. Let's be thoughtful and remember what we love about the village. Please vote to support the moratorium until a more appropriate solution, which can be supported by the village residents, is identified. Thank you. And Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thank you, Ms. McKee. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Okay, anybody else, Danielle?
Mayor and trustees, that's all I have signed up.
Is there anybody participating remotely that wishes to speak on this matter? If so, please use the raise your hand button.
Mr. Mayor, there is nobody online.
Thank you. Okay, the floor is now closed for comments. I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Moratorium is extended. B, discussion and approval of resolution number 2022-12-04, a resolution approving the adoption of a new Mexico Municipal League, parentheses NMML, record retention policy. Clerk Danielle Cedillo Molina.
Thank you, Mayor and trustees. Before you is resolution number 2022-12-04, asking for your approval to adopt the New Mexico Municipal League Records Retention Policy. The village currently follows the New Mexico Commission of Public Records policy. However, Chapter 19, Local Governments Record Retention and Disposition Schedule, Part 8, Municipalities, has been repealed, thus making it difficult for many of the municipalities to follow the state retention schedule. Due to that difficulty, the NMML developed a record retention schedule in 2018 to better serve the municipalities statewide. As you can see in the attached schedule, it is noted where the record should reside, categorized by department, specifically defined, and denotes the retention. Also included are the email retention guidelines, as this too is much better defined, noting which emails constitute a public record and which emails are not public records. This policy will reduce requirements for storage space, ensure consistency in disposition and handling, and reduce chances for reckless disposal. And with that, Mayor and Trustees, I ask for your approval.
Thank you, Danielle. Before we get to discussion from the governing body and/or questions, I need a motion to approve resolution number 2022-12-04.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2022-12-04.
I need a second.
I second.
I'll go for discussion and/or questions, trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
I have no questions.
Trustee Lewis.
I have no questions.
Trustee Benavides.
Yeah, there are a lot of categories here. Looks like a tough job. My question is more about the email requirement, and apparently the owner of the email can make has a discretion to make a decision whether it meets that criteria or not. Let's see. So, hold on. Let me get to my question. Page 2. I gotta go to the page. Scrolling. I'm going to page 221.
Okay. 221.
That's the last scrolling. Okay. Okay. So, I mean, it's amazing. Your email inbox, it can be like in the thousands, right? So it's impractical to categorize thousands of emails. And so I worry about that. And so my question is, what are the consequences if the emails are improperly deleted and our emails automatically backed up anyway?
Do we want Kiko?
Trustee Benavides, as you note under section 2 of the email retention guidelines, those are all the policies, what constitutes public records. However, if you inadvertently deleted an email, we can recover it.
Correct.
If it falls under this category. Whereas on item number 3, it clearly notes what emails are not public records.
So that they are, the question is, what are the consequences if I delete an email that was supposed to be retained? And what I'm hearing is it's backed up anyway?
Yes.
So the answer is none.
There aren't any.
Okay, good.
So we have the ability, Trustee Benavides, to do a search if the criteria is there regarding a particular item of business that we need to look for. We can search for it.
Okay, thank you. That was all.
Okay. So we're going to go, I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. C, discussion and approval of resolution number 2022-12-05, a resolution declaring the office of the municipal judge vacant. Obviously, our municipal judge had an untimely tragedy and passed away on November the 25th, 2022. Therefore, I need a motion to approve resolution number 2022-12-05.
I make a Motion to approve resolution number 2022-12-05.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Now I'll go to discussion and/or questions from the governing body, trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
I have no questions.
Trustee Lewis.
I have no question.
Trustee Benavides.
No questions?
Okay, I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Pursuant, item D now, pursuant to Chapter 11, Municipal Court, Section 11.1.5, vacancies. In the event that the municipal judge resigns, is removed, dies, or ceases residence within the municipality, the mayor shall declare the office of municipal judge vacant. The board at either a regular or special, vacancies in the office of the municipal judge shall be filled by appointment by the board at either a regular or special meeting, and municipal judges so appointed shall serve until the next regular local election, parentheses 2025. Cristina P. Aguirres. I'm asking for confirmation of a temporary municipal judge to the appointed municipal judge. Therefore, I need a motion to approve the confirmation of Cristina P. Aguirres to be the appointed municipal judge.
Motion to approve to the appointed municipal judge.
I need a second.
Second.
Okay, before I get to discussion from the governing body, I'm going to go trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
I have no questions.
Trustee Lewis.
No questions.
Trustee Benavides.
Just a point of clarification. I was under the impression that she was our alternate municipal judge, not the temporary.
She is. She is. Did we use the word temporary? Are they one and the same?
Yes. Mayor and
They are one
Trustee
and the same.
Benavides, it is one and the same.
They're one and the same.
Okay.
Okay. Any more questions? No. Okay. I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
No.
Okay. Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Passes 2-1. Okay, item E. Pursuant to section 3-11-6A, parentheses 1, NMSA 1978, subject to the approval of a majority of all members of the governing body, the mayor shall submit the names of employees to the Board of Trustees for confirmation. Dominic Tomba, Animal Control Officer / Animal Husbandry Program Manager. Administrator Simon.
Thank you, Mayor, trustees. Yes, we are really delighted that Dominic Tamba has agreed to come back and work for the Village of Los Ranchos. It is very, very difficult to find animal control employees, let alone good ones. And we were lucky to have Dominic, who had all of his certifications. He has 5 years of experience and is a certified animal control officer. Any new employee that we would bring in from the outside would have to go through all of the training, and we're lucky that Dominic is willing to bring all that back and serve the village once again. We have changed the position slightly. He will be doing the duties that he left as general animal control officer for the entire village, but with the added responsibilities of being the animal husbandry program manager at the Agri-Nature Center, and he will be based at the Agri-Nature Center.
Thank you, Administrator Simon. Okay, I need a motion to approve the Dominic Tomba as our Animal Control Officer / Animal Husbandry Program Manager.
I make a motion to approve Dominic Tamba.
I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, if there's any discussion from the governing body, I'll go trustee by trustee. Trustee Pacheco.
I have none, Mayor.
Trustee Lewis.
I have none.
Trustee Benavides.
None.
I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco.
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Yes.
Trustee Benavides.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Discussion, consideration, and approval of the governing body regular meeting day and time for calendar year 2023. To solve the problem of trustees and/or village residents not actually having enough time to review the packet, I am recommending that we move our meeting date to the third Wednesday of every month versus the second. Part of my logic is when I became a trustee in 1992, for the next 16 years, there were 2 BOT meetings a month. Second Wednesday, fourth Wednesday. That became impossible. Mayor Larry Abraham, Administrator Kelly Ward, and our clerks came to the governing body and said, this is totally impossible to put together 2 packets a month. There wasn't that much business to be done anyway. So I think the logic and the reason for selecting the third Wednesday, and Danielle, you have a calendar you can show to the governing body, that gives everybody an extra 7 days, an entire week to review the packet. The internal schedule will stay exactly the same. In other words, Danielle will get her information. She'll put it out as if the meeting were going to occur the second Wednesday, but it'll be the third Wednesday, which gives you an entire week. And so that's the logic. So with that, I can ask for a motion, a second, then we'll get to discussion. I need a motion to approve changing our meeting day and time to the third Wednesday of every month.
Well, maybe we should have some discussion. I'm going to bring up some problems, but I'll
We
make.
can't have the discussion without a motion and a
So I'll
second.
make the motion to approve.
Need a second.
Second.
Okay, now let's go trustee by trustee. Let's start with trustee Pacheco.
Mayor, I haven't had an opportunity to look at my calendar. As you know, I have a full-time job.
Sure.
And I typically plan my work around the trustee meetings. So without going through my calendar, I really don't know yet if I have some conflicts already on the books. And I'm not just completely sure that giving us another week is really going to give us, that we're going to take another week to read through the materials. I feel like getting it on the Friday, and I know what that takes. I mean, that's what I signed up for. That's, you know, we've been doing this a long time. I feel like if we add another week to it, we're still going to be at the same boat. You know, some of us are still going to be waiting till the last 2 or 3 days to read through the packet.
Okay. Any more comments?
No.
Trustee Lewis.
I feel a lot like trustee Benavides. I also have concerns, you know, just looking at this calendar, just looking at January. So if our meeting's on the 18th and we defer actions, we take different actions that require something for the next month. Now, and you've got basically 2.5 weeks for staff to put something together, for village residents to get their input in and get something on the agenda, versus, you know, when it's on the second Wednesday and we only have this short time to prepare, you know, then you're looking at 3.5 weeks for something, for what happens after our meeting.
Sure.
And I struggle with that. I mean, I understand where trustee Radnovich was coming from, saying it's hard. It is hard, and it's gotten harder, but that's what we signed up to do. Right. And that's what we make the big bucks for.
Of course.
Yeah, our $50 a month is for, you know, our time involved. And so I'm just not sure the ramifications of trying to make it a little easier for us. Mm-hmm. And yes, it makes it easier for people, residents, to have time with the packet, but then it also takes time away from the next packet.
Okay.
And so I struggle with this, and I wouldn't say I'm ready to make a decision on it.
Okay. Any more comments? Trustee Lewis?
No.
Trustee Benavides?
I'm flexible here, but I'm looking at my calendar and I'm thinking the Water Authority oftentimes meets on the third Wednesday.
Okay. Is that correct? Okay. That causes trouble for you then, right?
Yeah. Now they go earlier at 5, and they're usually pretty quick. They do it by Zoom. However, they're eventually going to meet in person, which would require more time.
Right.
So that could be a problem. I'm wondering if there's some sort of in-between day that we could pick?
Well,
Was it Wednesday's just always a better day?
well, it's certainly a better day for me. The middle of the week has typically been the meeting day. Do the trustees want to make a vote tonight, or do you want to defer it and consider it in a month or two?
My preference would be to defer it. And I have a question.
Sure.
When you all are preparing the packet, this packet, Nan sort of stole the packet with her Comcast agreement. Is there a way for us to get the packet, get pieces of it?
Yeah.
Something like the Comcast agreement before we get our full packet? I mean, if there's some lengthy things that are gonna require some time but aren't gonna have that much discussion or village resident controversy, or I'm not sure how you.
I have the same feeling, actually. I mean, even if you
there's
stamp
something-
draft on it or something like that.
Yeah, there's something, there's something where we could get like that, the Comcast agreement, before we got our regular packet. We're fine if you want to start taking
Yeah.
time beforehand.
Here's my suggestion. I think you're bringing up a great point. I would like to have it deferred for 60 days until the February meeting, so that Danielle, Administrator Simon, our Planning and Zoning Director, and myself can give some thought to this. And because it sounds like the only person who really wants it to be extended is Trustee George Radnovich. He's been hollering about this for several months. There were occasional comments from the residents about it, but I understand the concern. So if you want to defer it and give us time to look at it more carefully, I would need an amended motion.
Let me add that I don't think we're doing it only for Trustee George Radnovich,
No, it was
because
also for the residents that spoke up on this.
we're also doing it for future trustees.
Of course.
Those people that might be interested in taking on this job.
Of
that
course.
That, you know, maybe do work during the day.
Sure.
So,
That's why we meet at 7.
yeah. So, yeah, I think we need time, obviously.
Okay, do I have an amended motion to defer for 60 days?
That would be Gilbert.
Yes, so I'll amend my motion to defer this for 60 days. So
I need a second.
Second,
Okay, I'm going to call for the question, call for the roll call vote. Trustee Pacheco?
yes.
Trustee Lewis?
Yes.
Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Okay, this item F, discussion, consideration, approval of the governing body regular meeting day and time for calendar year 23 is deferred for 60 days. Thank you. 12, now we're at trustee informal discussion. Roundtable discussion is informal. The Board of Trustees will take no official vote or action. Let me jump in quickly and then I'll get to each trustee. I want to advise everybody that on the 4th of January, 2023 at 6 p.m. to 7:30, there will be a pre-legislative session town hall. Representative Javier Martinez, Representative Day Hockman Vigil, Senator Katie Duhigg, and Senator Bill O'Neill. And I want to point out that I understand from inside sources that Representative Javier Martinez may in fact be the Speaker of the House. May. I just want to point that out. The 4th of January at 6 p.m. So Trustee Pacheco, your turn.
I don't really have anything other than to say it's been a long year. And one where I feel like I think all of us have gotten a little bit of tougher skin built this year. However, I feel like we accomplished a great deal. So for all the heartache and just kind of the things that we had to go through this year, I think we got a lot done. And for that, I am truly grateful. I also want to thank the staff, the administration, the consultants, and the residents for the hard work that was put into many projects and discussions this year. And I just hope that next year is going to be an even more positive year with more positive outcomes, especially as it relates to our village as a whole. And lastly, I just want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I think we're all looking forward to a new year. 2023 is going to bring a lot of good things. I can feel it. Thank you.
Trustee Lewis.
Thank you. First, I wanted to add on to what you said about the beautiful Christmas lights the staff put up. I thought it was wonderful going up Osuna Boulevard and seeing them at Edgewood Park along that edge. I just thought, man, this is just a beautiful entry into the village.
Right.
And so I want to comment that, you know, they did a wonderful job there too. That was really a pleasant surprise that they had time to work over there also. And then I same thing. I think it's been a tough year, but I think it was a very, very good year. I think for the village, I think we all grew a lot this year. And I look forward to 2023 and want to thank the staff and fellow trustees for all your hard work and look forward to the new year and wish you all a Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Trustee Lewis. Trustee Benavides.
Yeah, first I'll say I thought the proclamation for Diane Albert was a great tribute to her, and thanks for doing that.
You're welcome.
And yes, I too want to thank the staff for all their hard work. This place really runs well, you know, and I appreciate that. And I want to also thank Ann Simon for this chocolate she gave me, so that was really nice. I want to acknowledge my neighbor that did pass away. His name was Chris Teague, and he passed away suddenly, not at a ripe old age either. So he left behind a wife and 2 sons. And he was a good neighbor, a good member of this village, and a hardworking person. And this is going to be some trying time for his wife and kids. So I want to acknowledge that. On a happier note, my father-in-law, Eddie Garcia, who lives in the village, was inducted to the New Mexico Hall of Fame. So we have a village resident here that was inducted to the New Mexico Hall of Fame. Yes. And so, yeah, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. Thanks.
Before we adjourn, I also want to wish the village residents, our staff, our governing body, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and remind everybody that we are having a get-together on the 20th of December, just in case you want to come by and partake of some good food and cheer. I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I so motion.
Need a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. The time is